You know, one of the hardest conversations to have is about white privilege. We hear this word a lot. It's very frustrating because for a lot of people, it's so blatant. It's so easy to see. But I think sometimes we don't really go into depth about what it is, and giving the understanding of somebody that may not be able to recognize or how difficult it can be to recognize. So to do that, I want to give a short little story. I've been giving this conversation a lot now. Hopefully it'll help somebody else that's in this situation. So let's take two athletes. You got athlete A and you got athlete B. Both of them are running the 100-meter dash. Now, athlete A is absolutely destroying athlete B. They are working hard, and over a 4-year period, they have kept their dominance over athlete B. But over those 4 years, athlete B has gotten closer and closer and closer and closer. Each time athlete B progresses, athlete A steps up their game and they work even harder to make sure that they keep that level of dominance. But it seems that athlete B continues the game, but athlete A is still able to continue to win. So the improvement factor from athlete B is phenomenal, but he's still losing to athlete A. So let's say the commissioner comes to athlete A after this 4-year period, and he says, you've been doing a phenomenal job. You have built so much of a dominance over athlete B, and you have built yourself a career and you benefited from it healthy. But understand this: if you win this last race, you are set. Your grandkids are set. Your great grandkids are set. Your great great grandkids are set. The endorsements, everything, you will be done for the rest of your life, and you will be able to reap the benefits that you pass down to generation. But before you do that, we have to let you know something, because we're going to put you in a position that might be a little uncomfortable. See, what we didn't tell you is that every time athlete B has raced you, we put a 150-pound weight vest on him. Also, we put resistance bands on his legs so he couldn't fully open up his stride, and he has to start a full second later than you. And I know you haven't been aware of any of these things, but now that you are aware, my question to you is, pause. Before we go any farther with the question we have for him, the question I offer to you: who is the superior athlete in this situation? Is it athlete A, who has constantly won, or is it athlete B, knowing the restrictions and the obstacles that have been placed on him and still being able to come within a reasonable distance and still stay competitive even though they're losing? Is there anybody that still believes that athlete A is the superior athlete? I personally don't, but maybe you do. Now the question is, which athlete was winning? That is athlete A. Athlete A has developed this position of dominance, while athlete B has had an astronomical amount of resistance and obstacles that have kept him to this point from being able to catch or surpass athlete A. Now, some may agree with me, some not. But if you go along with what I just said of athlete B being a superior athlete, but athlete A still winning, this is my question. Put yourself, and I'm going to make it specific, black people, put yourself in athlete A's position, because I know plenty of y'all are resonating with this analogy and saying, yeah, this is them. No, this is perfect. You know, you might got the finger snaps or whatever, but I want you to put yourself into athlete A's position and understand that athlete A worked hard. Understand that they took the time and the sacrifice to make themselves improve. Now, after athlete A is put in this time and given his sacrifice and did everything he could to stay in his understanding of dominance, black people, if you were in position of athlete A, would you be willing to take the restraints off of athlete B if you knew that it meant your inferiority? If you knew at that moment, now keep in mind, all of this time, you did not put these restraints on these people. You didn't put the vest on them. You didn't put the resistance band. You did not make them start a second later. That had nothing to do with you. That was part of the commissioner's office. That was way up there. You never ever asked for that, and you were never aware that that person had to do that. You were focused on running your race, and you worked hard. But you know that you have beat Athlete B each time. But now that it's been put in your face, that they have came out clean and said that they have put these restrictions on Athlete B, do you have the courage to take those restraints off of Athlete? Now, it's your choice, because they don't come off if you don't acknowledge it. Would you continue that race? Get all your accolades? Get all of your benefits by keeping the restraints on that person? You will only been running one race knowing that these restraints were on these people. So I really want to know, would you be willing to give up everything that you have genuinely worked for somebody else that you don't know, that you didn't do it to them? If your answer is no to that, and for a lot of us, if we were honest, that would be our exact answer, then maybe you understand the denial of white privilege a lot more than you're willing to recognize. See, the issue is we equate white privilege to being something that is heinous, that these people are evil, that they just want to keep us down or anything to that nature. The majority of people that benefit from systematic racism and white privilege have absolutely no idea that it's happening, because all they've been focused on is hard work. A lot of them have worked their butt off, and that's why they get so offended when they hear somebody say that what they've obtained is due to privilege, when in actuality, they had no idea the privilege ever existed. Then, for those who did recognize and started to see, you are left with the burden of knowing that if I take that away, am I still going to be able to feed my family? Am I still going to be able to prosper in the way that I have? Because right now, how inclined am I to take away the things that I work for? See, when we just leave it to privilege, we make it seem like it was given to them. There's plenty of people that have white privilege that do not exercise it to the degree that someone else did. See, they benefited from the privilege, but they put the work in behind it. That's why they're offended. But if we were ever to stop, take a deep breath, and look at it from a different perspective, we may be able to have a conversation. But if you're not willing to understand that a lot of people are simply saying, hey, I worked for everything that I got, and that is absolutely true, that they did work and they put in everything that they had, they were totally ignorant to the restraints that were put on you. See, they were told that if they work hard, that if they go and do the things that they're supposed to do, then they will reap the benefits. But Athlete B was told the same thing the whole time, as he was being totally conscious of that commissioner coming and placing that vest on him, putting a resistance band on his legs and making him start a full second later. We have not had the ignorance or the bliss of ignorance to say that that's not happening. We have watched it happen. We have sat back and watched the obstacles be placed on us, and all we've had to do is continue to press just to survive. Now, you got a couple people that are able to break past it and they're phenomenal and they get out of it. But there's a lot that if they were just given that equal opportunity, that they would be able to do so much more than Athlete A. But they're not able to do it with those restraints. So we take the phenomenal athletes. We take the athletes B's that are able to overcome that. This unrealistic burden that's placed on them of these 150-pound weights and resistance bands and starting a second later. They're able to overcome that. And the second Athlete B ends up beating Athlete A. That discredits everybody else that's in Athlete B's position. Because they say that one exceptional person that made it, he made it. Why can't you? But the sad part is, you still don't pay homage to the fact that if athlete B got to race you without those restraints, you wouldn't even look like you were in the race. That is the part that becomes difficult. How do you take that? Now, see, I'm using A and B. I'm not applying a race to that. And it's making some people uncomfortable because you're already attributing race, even though I'm using letters. But that's where you have to step in and see, why do you feel the way that you feel? Why do I have this frustration by going ahead and finishing and putting in what I mean? I simply said athlete A and athlete B. I held black people to the same accountability that I would hold white people. And I asked them if they would do it if they were in the position. But the reality is they're not in athlete A's position. They are in athlete B's position. So if you are listening to this video, I would love to hear some of your input that you have on it. But I would love to start the conversation about us talking to people like they are people. Stop trying to paint all white people out to be these horrible people that are just trying to keep you down. And let's really see if we can come to the table and discuss how this privilege has really disadvantaged some people. And let's acknowledge the work that other people put in and why they may not be able to see that we didn't start off the same. See, just because they're not able to see that you started a second late, that you had the 150-pound weight vest, that you had the resistance band, that does not negate the fact that they worked their butt off. That they went through the pain, that they went through the tears, that they went through the sweat, they went through the blood. They overcame the injuries necessary to get where they are. But they had no idea what the obstacles that athlete B had to deal with in order for them to have the image of superiority that is placed on them that they didn't even ask for. So can we have a conversation? Can we talk about this? I'm hoping so. Y'all hit me up in the comments. Let's sit down. Let's have a group discussion. I would love to hear what some people have to say about this. Do you relate? Do you not relate? Did this provoke some thought? I really hope it did. Let's have a conversation about this so we can really start to make an impact on our communities. We say color don't matter. I'm not at that place to agree with you, but we can definitely start making it matter less. And we can start focusing on the quality of community and loving one another and everybody having their own individual connection to their culture and the mutual appreciation of those things. But we got to be honest about where we at. We can't try to paint things over and make them something they're not. We got to deal with the good and the bad. So let's have it. Let's get it.